Hello, my wonderful darlings. Thank you for coming to join me on my next podcast show, SOULSPACE, with me, Nikki Allen. As you may know, you may be sitting on a little bit of a cliff edge, waiting for part 2 of why spirits haunt places. In fact, I cover all sorts of stuff like this, whether it's angelic, paranormal, scary, spooky, wonderful, miraculous. It's all here. So you've come to the right place. So let's get on with part 2. This time we're going to talk about understanding more about spirit phenomena, because what seems bad isn't really that bad at all. So what I am going to do is just continuing from part 1. Is I was talking about like attracts like, okay? So these are people that are living in or invited in or have created a negative or heavy phenomena in their home. So I'm just going to give you a couple more examples just to get us completely clear where we are at with spirits haunting the earth, okay? So if you've missed it, please go back to part 1 because it really is a natural, organic trail of supernatural hauntings. It's a really good, it's one of my favourite subjects, to be fair. Well, they're all favourites. Angels, everything. Let's just get on with it. So leading on from what we were just talking about, with, his name was Paul, who was literally going round to this place. Was I allowed to say that his name was Paul? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Who was going round to the place because he felt attracted to the light. Remember where the CD was getting thrown off the wall? So I had a very similar circumstance where I was doing a tour of the UK, and I decided to do a little mini tour whilst I was around Norfolk, one of my most favourite places to work. The beautiful, if anybody's listening, that beautiful village hall in Diss, where we used to have like 100, 200 people, and you were just such a beautiful audience. I do miss you dearly, and one day I really do hope to get back there. But anyhow, coming back from memory lane, I was doing the rounds of all the theatres in the area, but also I was doing a couple of evenings of mediumship in people's homes. Now, this particular place, I can't even remember what part of Norfolk it was in the middle of nowhere. Again, as I've said before, I don't want to have any idea at all of who I'm going to see, who they are. I normally would just be given by my PA their first name. Oh, it's Lucy's house and this is the address. I would have no knowledge whatsoever of the house. And this went down to any paranormal investigation. I never, ever wanted to know a single thing of where I was going. And then once I was there and had said what I said, then the confirmation came from researchers, which was delightful when you realise you were right. So we're driving along and I had my friend with me who was just assisting me with doing readings at the people's homes. And I started to get really irritated and felt really quite angry and like really unnecessary. I just felt a bit sick and a bit, God's sake. And I was getting really, really tetchy. And I didn't stop to think why. There was no reason why. And with my experience now, I would go back to that person back then and say, oh, hang on a minute, you should be noting why you're getting a bit angry, love. Right, because I was getting really unnecessarily angry and bitey and shitty. And I didn't even think for a minute, not even think for a minute why I was getting like that. And the closer we got to this place, the closer I was feeling really shitty and angry. And like, I didn't want to know. And I don't even want to fucking be here. I was like being really, really weird. So we turn up at this place, big posh driveway, huge manor cross farmhouse with acres of land all around it, really big and posh. And I'm like, wow, this is beautiful. But it didn't feel beautiful. It looked incredible. It had been done beautifully, but it just, I don't know, didn't feel right. So I end up going, well, there's bloody loads of doors. So I thought I'd go for the kitchen because I could hear like lots of people gathered. And there were loads of people gathered having like, cocktails and drinks. And I walked through the kitchen door and I remember literally retching as soon as I walked through the door, how embarrassing, and wanting to puke in their bin. And I even opened the lid up. Like, what an entrance. And I'm like, oh my God, how embarrassing. I said, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. I think I've got a bug or something. I'll just go to the loo. So I went to the loo and I felt awful. So then I thought, right, pull yourself together, Nick. You know, these people have all come here. There was a good amount of people there. You've got to do this evening mediumship. So I said to my mate, look, I'm not being funny. I don't feel right, but let's get on with it. So we gathered them all in one of the huge lounges that they had and all sitting there, all having a drink and, you know, little nibbles and stuff. They were lovely intimate evenings, I used to call them, absolutely lovely. Most of the places I went to were joyous. So I start doing this link and it's really hard. Now, when you're in an energy which is quite difficult to work in, like if people are drinking too much or, you know, it's a negative energy or they don't believe what you're doing or they're a bit, you know, sarcastic or a bit shitty, it's really hard to work. And you, for some reason, your vibration is lowered with theirs and you can't reach those aspired levels to connect with a spirit person. So I was desperately trying to connect to this lady and I think it was someone's mum in the place and they were like, no. And I couldn't quite grab her. And what was happening was other spirit people were coming in. So I was getting mixed information. So there was some people piping in with some information and then another one was. So I was getting two spirits at the same time. This doesn't feel right. I'm not normally like this. I normally bang, 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 you know, get it out there. And then suddenly my granddad just appeared in the room and said to me, Nick, he goes, you need to sort this out first. He said, they've done a Ouija board and they've fucked the place up. I don't know where he got the swear words. I never remember him swearing at all, ever. Perhaps it was me bringing that in, the F word. So I said, really? And he goes, I'm telling you now, you will not be able to do a thing. You've got to get rid of what's in here first. And I suddenly started thinking of why I felt angry and sick and nauseous. So I thought I was coming down with something. I'm like, you donut. And then my spine was pulling and I thought, this is the same energy. Heart palpitations, hairs going out the back of my neck, feeling sick, feeling ill, feeling angry, feeling argumentative. And I'm like, this is really weird. Getting the ump with people because they were saying no because they didn't understand what I was saying. So I thought, oh my God, right, okay. So I said, well, hang on a minute. I said, I need to stop there. I said, we need to sort out what's in this house. And so the bloke owned it goes, what are you talking about? And so I said, well, you basically have got something in this house and it's stopping my connection with the divine. And he's like, I don't think so, love. And I went, I do think so. And it's because you did a Ouija board. No, we didn't. I said, you bloody did. He goes, no, we didn't. And I looked at his wife. I said, have you done a Ouija board in this house? No. And so my granddad says they're lying. So I said, I'm sorry. My granddad says you're lying. And because I was still a bit, you know, rah-rah, I said, you know, it's quite simple. I said, you either tell me what it is and I can deal with the problem or I'll go now. I can't believe I said this, you know, all these paying guests. And I just was like, I'm not having it. And she goes, oh, well, you know, we did do one actually, New Year's Eve. I went, oh, so you did do one then? So I said, right, okay, what happened? And so she said, well, we just like had a drink and we thought we'd have a laugh and we bought a Ouija board online and we used it. I said, where is it now? So she goes, so it's under the stairs in the store cupboard. So I said, right, let's just get that and throw that out, first of all, out of the house. So I said, right. So I said, so I'm sorry, but I'm now going to have to go and find out what the problem is that's stopping me from linking with the spirit people that belong to you, right? And I had a right ump. So I said to my friend, look, you start doing one-to-one readings or you can, you know, see if that works better than standing up with the whole ether around the house. So I'll try and work out what the hell's going on. So I said, can I just borrow you two, please? Like, you know, the owners. And I said, do you want to come with me? So I said, right, hang on a minute. So I stood in this hallway and I knew instinctively that I had to go to this bedroom. And they said, oh, the kids won't sleep in there anymore. So I'm not surprised. I opened it. Oh, my good God, it was horrific. I'm not even going to lie. Again, it was a freezing cold freezer feeling. There was a stench in there. Oh, my God, it was disgusting. And they couldn't smell that, and I could. It smelled like drains, like sulphur. It was disgusting. Rotten eggs. I'm like, oh, my God. I said, have you had something die in here? And they said, what are you talking about? They couldn't smell it. So then I knew it was paranormal. So, right, okay. So I said, so your kids are not sleeping in? No, they haven't. They refuse to sleep in there. They have nightmares and screaming, saying there's a bad man. Oh, whoa, don't tell me anymore. I'll tell you. So I said, right, leave me in here, right? So I sat down, shut the door. My granddad was there with me, so I knew that it was something not great. And then I could feel, right, this breathing on my cheek. Breathing on my cheek. And I was like, wow, okay. And I thought, I don't like this. And then I smelt his breath and it was rancid. And he was right in my face, this old bloke. And I knew he was like a farmer, the way he was dressed and the smells and the feeling associated, I knew he was a farmer. And so he was just literally an inch away from my face. And, I knew my granddad was there. I knew nothing could happen. So I just stood my ground. I said, what are you doing here? And he goes, well, what are you doing here? And so I said, I'm here because I can be. I'm alive. Who are you? And then suddenly this awful thing, a bit like Jeremy Bamber played out, where there was this, thank God I didn't see it. Like they normally protect me from seeing anything really bad. But he literally went round and killed all his family. I don't even know what year it was now, to be honest with you. He shot them all and then shot himself. And it turns out, long story short, that this person, it was in the neighbouring farmhouse. I can't remember. I think it's just derelict now. I'm not sure. So what he'd done was, because of the guilt and remorse of slaying his family, he stayed grounded. And it was the land that he roamed around, which inherently covered which was, I think it was an old barn that had been renovated, this big farmhouse place. And so he went straight in when the energy was open with the Ouija with the Ouija board. And if you haven't listened to the other one, I'll tell you now. In the hands of mediums and people that know exactly what they're doing, it's a very effective tool. It's like a gun. In the hands of a marksman, it's perfect and does what it's supposed to do. In the hands of an idiot, it's dangerous. And this is exactly what happened. So he walked straight into the house. I thought, thank you very much. I'm going to scare the shit out of the people here. So he was stuck there. And it took me, to cut a very long story short, this bloke who really hated me, right, really hated me. There's also some other stuff going on in the house, which was a bit dishonest. So he was like loving that as well. So he kind of felt familiar with that energy as well. And he loved the fact that the kids were too scared to go in the room. He really hadn't sorted himself out. He hadn't been up to the light, he hadn't got his healing. So he was just still creating this manifestation of hate, guilt, and all of the stuff that comes with it. Like I said in the first podcast, part 1, that, his energy was manifesting and creating physical phenomena. Things banging, falling, crashing, lights exploding, things breaking, things not right, things not working, the fridge freezer breaking down and the new one would, all that kind of stuff. And this is what after I sat there with him, I came out and said, my God, you've got like this farmer bloke in there. And, have you had this happen? Yes. Have you had that happen? Yes. Do you have the freezing cold spots where you literally feel your spine being dragged? Yes. Are you arguing a lot? Yes. Blah, 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 blah. Which I'll do the full list for you in a minute. So I went, right. So I said, you basically invited him in without even knowing it, doing that Ouija board. They went, oh my God, I wonder if it's the history that we researched where the farmer shot his family. I went, yes, it is. Thank you very much. Because I've just told you that. And they said, yeah, it's him. I'm like, right, great. So I went back into the room. It must have took me about 45 minutes. And in the end, the magical door that I told you about last time at my meeting place opened. And I could see a group of family there. Obviously, something had happened to him, mental health. I don't know what had happened. But they were quite forgiving. They were all there waiting for him. And so we assured him they were there and that he would get healing for whatever created this massive, horrific event. And he did eventually go in through the door. I couldn't believe it. And you always know when they've gone through, and it's definitely clear because you get a smell of roses. And that's normally my angels coming in, or my spirit guide showing that the place is cleansed. And it smelt like a honeysuckle air freshener. And it was totally different from the sulphur rotten egg thing. And he had gone. And so I came out and said, right, I can work now. And I literally marched into the room with them lights behind me, and bang, we started working, and it was magnificent. And so I gave them a list of what to and what not to do, and they apologised profusely. It was just a bit of fun. They didn't realise they'd created what was going on in the house. They just kept putting it down to bad luck or the drains or whatever else was going on. But it explained why I felt angry. I was manifesting and resonating with the energy that this bloke has exuded over this massive landmass. And he he just infiltrated me as I was driving along all these acres of land that they own that I was driving through. It was all like, coming on to me. And the feeling of nausea and sickness was literally being in the presence of a negative energy. It's that simple. So, yeah, he wasn't a great one either, but he did go over. And incredibly, again, it was reported by the family that the kids went back into the bedroom. Everything was completely normal, light. There was no accidents anymore. There was no arguments, and it was all sorted. So, again, it's the dangers of what you do when you play around, okay? If, as I said, if you have got people that know what they're doing, it's absolutely brilliant. And you can use it as a very effective tool to connect with the spirit world. But if you don't know what you're doing, it's a really stupid thing to do. You don't realise the power it has. And it's really not so much the board itself. It's your intentions. Your intentions open a gateway of energy that they can jump in, and if you are of low energy, or you're taking the piss out of it, or you're drunk, or you're not in control of your faculties, it could be a really dangerous thing to do. So let's just jump across a bit to residual energy now. I just want to cover that on a negative basis, and then cover the list points just in case you feel that you may have this in your home. Another place I went to in Southend, beautiful Victorian houses, lined down this lovely tree-lined road. Turned up, and she said, it's just really dire in here. It's really negative. It's really heavy. I feel depressed here. I can't seem to get motivated. So obviously, when I go in, not only, I told you in the last one, I tell them to make a cup of tea. That's when I'm also gauging if they've got any mental health issues, if it's actually more mental health than spiritual, if they're negative, whatever it is that's going on. So I walked in, and she was quite down, but I could see and feel in her energy that, she wasn't that sort of person that was prone to mental health. It felt like there was a causation. And I immediately felt it as soon as I walked in, even though there were lights on and, it's quite a modern outlook within the place. It was just dire in there. It just felt like you were walking into a funeral. And it really didn't take that long for me to find out. I asked her, I had a cup of tea with her and just settled in. And I went into the main lounge area, and I just said, leave me to it for just 10 minutes, see what's going on. And incredibly, this place, I saw it and smelt it as soon as I sat down. You could smell blood, wounds, rotting flesh type thing. And I thought, oh my God, what is this? And I thought, is it a mortuary or what's going on? And it turned out, when I saw the nurses and saw the patients, they were soldiers. And during the Second World War, it had been used as an overflow building for hospitalising injured soldiers. So there was pain, wounding, dying, dead bodies left to be picked up. That was all going on in this house. And it was residual energy. There was nobody interactive. There was no one person responsible for it. It literally held the energy of the pain and the anger and the desperation, the loneliness, and all of the stuff that goes with that sort of thing was held in the energy. And it was just awful. So that one, I reported back to her and said, look, did you know? She went, no. And we did research it, and it turned out it was. So I was really chuffed about that. And so it was just a mass cleansing ceremony, which I used white salt, rock salt, sea salt. It goes back thousands of years, the benefits of it. And if you see any paranormal shows like Supernatural, anything to do with the paranormal, everybody knows that salt is a cleanser, but it also is believed, or I know it does, it stops any energies crossing the line of the salt unless they're friendly, you allow them in. So it's a very strong protective element, salt, rock salt or sea salt. So I placed a bag of salt in 4 corners of the house. I cleansed it with white sage, prayer, and bringing in my angels and Julianus and my granddad. It was very, again, it just came naturally what I needed to say. There's no given speech for this. Do you know what I mean? I did get, as you may know from other podcasts, I've got water from the Pope's private font, so I used some of that. and just sprinkled little bits of those in the four corners. And I don't know if she had the amethyst or I gave it to her, but I put an amethyst at the door threshold and a labradorite, which obviously protects and also, excuse me, reflects back the energy of whatever's coming towards it. I also recommended that she place crystals, like the clear crystals that you can have in your window, because they create light sources, prisms of light that actually cleanse the area. Also, with the amethyst, I would recommend, especially if the people are getting visited in their rooms, especially kids, because they're open to it, aren't they? I always say place an amethyst near their crown and third eye chakra where they sleep, and it protects and stops visitation during the evenings for kids. It's a really good one. So I cleanse it. I do what I need to do. I take the white sage for every single room, make sure all the windows are open. The cleansing stuff you've already seen on my previous or heard on my previous podcast. So just go along with that, really. And I tell the people never, ever to do a Ouija board again in the house. Obviously, she never done this. It was just already there. And I tell them if it is a live individual that's been haunting the place, and I tell them to not speak of it and to engage in happy things and have happy music vibrating through the house for the first couple of months or so. So there is absolutely no way to attract them back. So that was what I did there. And amazingly, it didn't take much. It literally, because it was the residual energy of the place before she moved in, or loads of people must have lived there prior to her moving in and must have lived in this dank energy, bless them. And again, she reported later on that she felt brilliant. She had no more, depressive thoughts, and the place was completely bright and completely transformed. So that was wonderful that it worked. It is wonderful that it works. There's not, I don't think there's a couple that really haven't worked very well, but that wasn't down to me. And as I say, I can't remember what I put in Rise and Fall, but my book Rise and Fall, but these stories, I'm just going to throw them out as they come into my head. So let's look at spirit people that are creating problems in our house, but they're not negative. They're not negative, right? So these are the ones where you think it's going to be a bit dicey, and then you realise, wow, right? So I went with my brother, Richard. You might know my brother, Richard Morley. He's a psychic as well, psychic medium and health intuitive. And we went to this place just past Harlow in Essex. The reason being is that by what was going on, I needed a hand. I thought I needed a hand because this woman phoned up and said, I don't know what to do. My bedroom feels like someone's coming in there and, it's really imprinting their energy on me. Things are moving, things are being thrown around, blah, blah, blah. So I said, right, don't tell me anything else. You're just basically saying that it feels negative. She said, yes. I thought, I don't know why I'd take my brother with me. So I've never laughed so much in my life. You'll find out why. So we get there. God bless her, right? God bless her. It's a really nice house, very, very run-of-the-mill. And it was on an estate just past Harlow. We went in and straight away you could feel something weren't right in there. And so what we normally do, get him to make a cup of tea, gauge the energy, and Richard's looking at me, I'm looking at him. And it's like, what's going on here? Because it did feel like there was something that had the ump, but it didn't feel, like it was a malicious thing. So I thought, well, what are they doing here? So we said, right, leave it with us. So we went into the lounge straight away. There was this cigarette smoke. And I'm going to make up the names. I'll call him Arthur. So I said, hello, mate. And I suddenly saw in my third eye this man sitting in the corner on his chair with some cigarettes, smoking one after the other. Right, very unshaven, not very well dressed, clothes a bit dirty. And what had happened was, God bless him, is they'd been in this house. It was a council house, and they'd been in this house their whole life. All the family had been there and grown up. And he showed all of this, bless him, in just seconds in my head. And it really stunk of smoke, though. And I was kind of like clearing my throat, thinking, God almighty. So then his wife passed, and it absolutely devastated him. So he spent most of his time wishing to be up there. You know, his kids didn't come see him anymore, and he wanted to go up, I think, and I'll call her Doreen. So eventually Arthur goes up and connects with Doreen, and you think it's happy ever after. So if you remember on part 1, I said that some spirit people just like, for old time's sake, to pop down to their old house or their home or a certain spot or landmark in their life. And he'd say, I just popped down and now I'm bloody stuck here. I got the right ump. And I thought, how can he be stuck here? I don't get it. So this just is a story of, shows you how strong human intent is. It just shows you, right? Because even though he had the ump and he wasn't, you know, he was showing himself in the times of desperation and loneliness, didn't give a shit about his life, wasn't really eating healthily, he just wanted to die. So he sat there chain smoking and drinking, wishing to be up with his wife, okay? So that was the energy that was permeating through the house. And so Richard picked him up as well, and we both sat there, and he's like, can you smell the smoke? I went, yeah. He goes, his name's Arthur. I went, yeah. And so we were completely validating everything that was being given from this man. So I said, right, let's stay there a minute, Arthur. So he goes into the kitchen. We're told to stay in the kitchen. And I said, do you get cigarette smoke happening? Yeah. Funny you should say that. I thought it's from the neighbours. I went, no, it's this bloke. And I'll quickly to let you now know that we eventually went through the voters' registers and stuff, and it was Arthur and Doreen and children, which was incredible. We were really chuffed with that. So I said, look, he's saying that he's stuck here, and he said to ask you. And she goes, what? So what are you talking about? She goes, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, he's saying ask you. So what have you done? Have you done Ouija boards? Are you doing? No, absolutely not, nothing. So I said, and we were really puzzled. I kept looking at Rich, and I'm like, and then he said, I think we need to go upstairs. He goes, do you mind if we go in your bedroom? And so she said, no, not at all. So we go up to the bedroom, and this is the bedroom that he used to sleep in if he ever went up to sleep, because he normally just stayed in the armchair, bless him. Arthur did. So we went into this bedroom, and I am not kidding you. This place was filled from top to bottom of Michael Jackson memorabilia, like posters, books, scarves, quilt cover. It was absolutely covered. And the light bulb moment hit us both brilliantly at exactly the same time. I went, oh my God, I think she's trying to invoke Michael Jackson. And I think her invoking and her doing this is keeping this bloke here. I said, do you reckon? He goes, no, do you reckon? He goes, I thought that. So anyway, we go downstairs, and it turns out that she, every single night, is doing this prayer ritual, asking and commanding Michael Jackson to come and speak with her from the spirit world. So this is incredible, her form of intent by doing that, her sending this thought up, and her creating this gate of energy between here and wanting this manifestation of a spirit to appear of Michael Jackson, inadvertently, is Arthur. So he's like, I keep getting stuck in his vortex here. I want to stay up, but I keep coming down because it feels like she needs me, but she doesn't need me, and I just need to go back up. And he goes, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of her doing it in my old house. And we said, well, you know, I'm not being funny. You got to move on a bit, you know, because this isn't your house anymore, mate. Yes, it is. I said, it's not. And he wouldn't have it, though. He kept saying, no, it's still my home. All my family have been here. We were here 30 odd years, blah, 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 blah. And I think, I don't know if she was the next one in or not, but they'd been there their whole life, you know, gone through everything. And he was not happy about having to keep coming down. So I said, look, just avoid the energy. He goes, I can't. I want to come and visit my place when I want. I don't need to be stuck in with her. So it turns out, incredibly, that she was keeping him there when he's in visitation by her intent of this spirit world grounding prayer ritual she was doing. So he said, you've got to stop trying to invoke Michael Jackson. I said, unless he was like a family friend or family, there's no way that he's going to come to a random stranger, even though you're one of his biggest fans. It's not going to happen. Stop opening your energies up, because for some reason you keep bringing Arthur in on that energy. And he then spends more time down here realising how much everything's changed, and it gives him the ump. Plus, you've got the residual energy of how he felt after his wife died. So what we're going to do is, if you can promise to stop invoking Michael Jackson, we will come back and clear this. But if you carry on doing it, you're still going to stay in your own problem. We said, we'll try and talk to him and tell him to go up. But if you keep asking or invoking, he may come back down because his energy is connected to this house. So we then got an email. No, it's still going on. It's still going on. Then we got another email. Still going on. Still going on. So we said, well, have you stopped asking Michael Jackson to come? No, I haven't. I said, well, there's nothing we can do then. And unfortunately, that was the one that got away, because she would not stop asking Michael Jackson. She would open her energy up and demand that the spirit of Michael Jackson come to the house. And inadvertently, she was calling him down. Arthur. She was getting Arthur instead of Michael. So unfortunately, we had to let that one go. And I don't know if she still lives there now. It's a long time ago, long time ago. I don't know if anybody else has moved in and it's the same problem. I've got no clue. And again, it's one of those ones I would love to revisit. Can't even remember for the life of me where it is now. I just knew that we stopped at Harlow because Richard got stung in the eye by a wasp just to end the day. But yeah, it was just madness. But it just shows, again, the strength of your intent. So how do you know if you've got a negative person or there's other stuff going on? These are the number one markers. And this is what really confused us because of the violence of things that were happening in the house, like things getting thrown across the room and a bed rattling and feeling pinned down and smelling the fag smoke and everything. We thought, blimey. But actually, there was, were there sulphur smells, there were accidents? No. And it's not ticking all the boxes, this one. That's what really confused us. So you'll know the negative energy when you go into a home or it starts happening. You feel unwanted, you feel oppressed, you will feel depressed, you will feel argumentative, you may start having rows with all your family. Anything negative that can affect your emotions will take place, okay? They also there are cold spots. Now, there are two types of cold spots. There are cold spots that are literally where your spirit loved one is standing, okay? So please don't think if there's a cold spot, it's something negative. The cold spots it's just that the energy they come in on, the same as orbs. And orbs, very quickly, the first stage of a spirit orb is those little dots you see. They can be any size, from basketball I've seen the size of, down to the size of a marble. They can be all different colours, all different types. A rod of light is stage 2, where it looks like a tadpole, or a ray of light emitting from somewhere, or a streak of light, like could be lightning. That's the second stage. The third stage are your clouds or your gathered energy. Lots of people report it looks like cigarette smoke. They'll see smoke or things look smoky. I've seen it loads of times in this house when my lot come down. And it can be glittering as well. So it can be like a glittery fog, or you'll see loads of hundreds of lights glittering all together. That is the spirit manifesting and getting more knowledge of how to work the ether, using all of the electrons around it to manifest. You then have your grey ladies, your figures, your shadows, which is stage 4. These are like, humanoid forms, dog forms, animal forms, or whatever. And there's a shadow or a moving grey lady, but no face, no nothing. You could just see the figure moving. And then stage 5, solid as you like, looking at you in the face, and they look real as anything. I've seen so many of them. Half the time they look so real that I look away and then they disappeared. And that's the only reason I knew they were a spirit person. That, and so many people have reported this. Sometimes they can be a bit transparent-y. Sometimes they can waft in and out because they're obviously trying to manipulate the energy to stay there. But there's thousands, millions of reports of people seeing solid spirit people. So they're the stages. So on top of those sort of phenomena, perhaps heightening a bit, if you're taking photographs, the biggest teller, if you know there's a negative energy in your house, is the stench. It will smell like you've got a problem with your drains. It absolutely stink. There may be a particular room that you walk in and it is cold, it's uninviting, you just want to get out, and it feels dark. And that's a weird feeling to try and describe, but it feels negative. It feels like you've just walked in on a row or something really horrible. So they normally choose one part of the place to actually manifest in, a vortex energy. Normally it will be a children's area because children are open and send this big ray of light out that they can get in on. You'll have all sorts of electrical faults, things breaking, things moving, things being thrown, feeling of being pushed. For some reason, there's a lot of phenomena around stairs. They like to push you by the stairs just to scare you, to make you think, God, I could have died doing that. The most extreme situations are actually being physically bruised and scratched. These are very, very rare. Please don't panic. If you want to see the Birdbrook Ghost Hunt, which is on my YouTube channel, where we end up doing a seance in a very old haunted pub in Birdbrook, near, oh my goodness, where was it? Near Halstead. And it turned out we were on the stomping ground of the Witch Hunter General. And one of the skeptics there had his back scratched, dripping blood, oozing blood, puncture wounds. It was horrific. Never seen anything like it. It's all on film. Have a look if you're interested on my channel, my YouTube channel. We ended up making, my brother did anyway, changed it into a really good documentary. So have a look at that if you're interested in that sort of thing. So they can do that. That is when you desperately need help straight away. Some people of faith, because they pray against the devil, tend to attract it in because that's all they think about all the time. So you know, a lot of the places that hold negative energy, it's attracted by the devil fearing people that live in it. So some people will get a priest in to bless the house, or as I said, you find a reputable medium. So they're the kind of markers to look out for if you believe there's something negative in the house. Apart from that, if things are moving, things are changing places, if you're getting stuff disappear and appear again, it's normally your loved ones. Okay, if you have got none of those other markers going on, then it is going to be a loved one or a light energy in visitation to your house. You can get strangers into your house, possibly because they may have passed next door. You can have children that are either grounded or come in visitation from, for some reason, the Victorian times. I don't think because we were very prolific then with physical mediumship and seances, but there's a lot of Victorian children I come across that play with the children. But the problem is I want to play with them at 3 o'clock in the morning, so the kids are knackered in the morning. So you do get them come in as well, you know, that's very, and it's also places with shared attics for some reason. Even though spirits can manifest through walls and God knows what, they find it easy to just float through the ether of the roofs of the houses and then drop in on whatever house they want. I found that out as well. So all of these signs are what you need to look out for. There are videos on my YouTube channel that detail all of this. Negative energies, positive energies. So just have a look. So we've covered in the first part of this negative energies, you know, energies that are just plain evil and nasty. In this one, we've covered energy that potentially could have been negative. Well, the farmer was, to be fair. But then, you know, you look into it like, you know, the hospital in the home, it turned out that that's what that energy was. It wasn't anything negative or evil. And it's the same for that poor person. Poor Arthur, who's been sucked in because of the Michael Jackson woman. You know, so there are different sides to the story. You know, they're not always awful and negative. The final one that I want to tell you about, I'm sure this is in my book, because we are going to go into a part 3, which is the goodies. All right. But we're going to start with this one first of all. So this is a house near Corringham in Essex. And I turn up and it's a beautiful home. I'm not going to lie. The bloke was a builder and what a lovely bungalow it was. Oh my God. It was huge. Absolutely beautifully done. So I walk in and I know the girl from one of the spiritual churches. She's asked me to come round. She said, look, my daughter is getting visited all the time. It's keeping her awake. She keeps having nightmares and being told that she won't leave me alone. I'm like, don't tell me too much about what she's saying. Just tell me, you know, what the problem is. So she goes, well, she just won't sleep. I said, no problem. Leave it with me. So I did the normal thing, had a cup of tea of her, gauged the energy. First of all, I was drawn, this is funny, I was drawn to the back garden. And I said, there's been a death here recently. She goes, yeah, the rabbit died last night. I went, oh, that's what I could feel. So I said, okay then. And then I looked at the train line that was at the bottom, and I just thought, that's relevant. And I said, the train line's relevant, but I don't want to know yet. She went, no, you're right. I went, okay, just leave it with me. So I then left her in the kitchen, gauged that everything was okay and lovely. Nothing had been invited in, and I'm wondering what the hell was happening, because there's nothing happened here that deserves to have their child crying and waking up and saying she won't leave me alone. So I go in, and I'm really confused because I go into the room where I see the visitation, and it is so strong. The whole place is full of spirit energy. It's got heart palpitations, nice ones, sprinkly energy like I'm laying in lemonade. And it's like, wow, this place is humming. It is like an open gateway to the spirit world. What the hell's happening? So I decide that it's too intense in this little girl's room to do it. So I walk to the opposite end of the houses and go into another room, and I sit there, and it's one of the most magnificent sessions of mediumship I have ever done in my life. It was the most incredible communication, and I sometimes look back and think, how the hell did that happen? So the names might be right or wrong. She has given me permission to mention this, but I can't remember it now, and I'm not going to go back and read it up. I'm just going to share it. So I'm sitting there, and I just sent an energy up saying, right, who's in this house? And then this young bloke comes down, and he goes, oh, hello, my name's, I can't remember their blinking names. I'll just say his name's Ken. She goes, I'm Ken. I said, hello, darling. I said, you're right. And I said, who are you? She goes, I'm Jenny's brother. And I went, oh, hello, darling. So I said, I'm so sorry you passed over. And then he showed me the train line, and God bless him, he took himself over on the train line. And I'm like, oh, darling, I'm so sorry. And it was Christmas Eve. Oh, God. So I'm like, I'm so sorry, you all right? He goes, yeah, I'm all right. I've gone up, I've been healing and blah, 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 blah. And I went, okay. He goes, oh, this is my dad. And then the dad come in. I'm like, hello. And I'm thinking, this ain't right, because one, this little girl's going on about a girl, and two, these can't be bothering them too much. So I said, do you come here a lot? And they said, oh, yeah, we're down here now and then. There's been a few rows. So, we've been down just to try and, bring a bit of calm to the place. And I said, oh, right, okay. So I said, what about your niece? And he goes, oh, I love her. I'm going to call her Katie. I love Katie. So I said, oh, right, okay. So I said, so is it you bothering? He goes, oh, no, not at all. So I said, right, okay. So I said, right, you need to help me on this one, Ken. I said, tell me what is going on. So he gave a few bits that obviously I didn't know, which were verified later on to prove it was him. And he got Terry. I think his name was Terry. The dad was Ken, not sure. It's Terry. So I said, okay, Tel. So I said, what's going on? He goes, well, I think I've created a problem. I'm really sorry. So I said, what's that then? So he then showed me his grave, right? And he showed me his date of birth and when he died. That's how I know it's Christmas Eve, right? And I thought, remember the numbers. And I could have kicked myself because I didn't have any paper to write. So I thought, remember the dates. And then he said, the problem is, what should we call her, Sarah? So he said, the problem is Sarah. So I said, who's Sarah? And so then he shows a grave right next to his, right, with her name, the date she passed, and the fact that she was right next to him. And he said, she was not only my neighbour in the cemetery, but she was our neighbour when we grew up. I went, okay. Goes, the problem is they all like Jesus. I remember they all like Jesus. So what he meant was they were religious. They didn't believe in the afterlife, right? So he goes, so she's really sad because she can't go and visit her family because they just block her. They don't acknowledge her. They won't acknowledge her. And she's really sad. So one day I said, why don't you come down with me and visit my niece? And he goes, I'm so sorry. I went, I totally know what's gone on here. So what happened is that this woman, bless her heart, she basically was coming down and had leapfrogged or, piggybacked on the energy of Terry, right? And she then learned how to do it. So she was so excited that someone was acknowledging her that she kept visiting, not nastily. She was so excited that she was connected with this beautiful energy of Kate. And she was so happy to be down there and be seen by Kate. She absolutely loved it. She didn't realise, though, that she was visiting all the time, every night, keeping her awake. She was just so excited that she was being acknowledged because, as you know, all children are open to spirit phenomena. They remember their previous lives. They remember so much, but society, parenting, peerage, all creates this massive social button of doom that tells them that it's all crap and not to mention it through fear or embarrassment. And so they end up closing down. It's only the ones that truly have paths to follow on a spiritual nature wake up and realise that they've got a gift that needs to be nurtured. So I'm like, oh, what have you done? And she goes, I'm so sorry. I said, no, you're coming down too much, darling. She goes, I'm not, am I? And I said, you really are. I said, I know you've got no time up there, but you're coming here every human night and you can't keep waking her up. She was so upset, this girl, bless her heart. She was devastated that she was creating so much mayhem because she had no idea of how many times she was visiting. She'd just seen the vortex, if you want, the energy on how to get down and kept doing it because she so wanted to see her family. They didn't want to know, so she went to this little girl. So after a very, very long chat and making sure that she definitely came through that door that I've told you about, and she did, they'd been up there and healed, but she just wanted to come down, and because she was being acknowledged, she loved it. So after I told her, she was absolutely mortified, bless her. I said, look, you can't do this anymore. You know, if you want to come down, perhaps stand very distant in the corner, but very rarely do it. And then I said to Terry and Ken, just watch her. Don't let her come down with you. Come and do what you need to do, but just keep it subtle now and don't keep bothering little Katie. Did the same thing, put salt at the window of Kate's bedroom and at the doorway, amethyst by her pillow, sun catcher so that she could look at that as a positive imagery to say that takes all your bad dreams away. And saged the room and never had a problem since. Incredibly, when I read out, or not read out, but when I said the date, she goes, oh my God, that's absolutely spot on. And yes, she was buried next to my brother. And yes, we did grow up next door to her. And yes, she died of cancer, whatever it was. And she goes, I can't believe it. I just can't believe it. And I thought, bloody hell, neither can I. How amazing is that? Never had a problem again. How wonderful is that? So again, two sides to every story. She had no idea what she was doing there. Bless her little heart. And I'm going to share another wonderful, beautiful story with you in part 3. And this definitely is in my book. Good old Steve. So take with this what you will. It is very rarely negative, as I said, but now we're looking into the true soul of a spirit person to find out why they come down here. So until the next time, my darlings, please sleep well and don't have any nightmares. I'll speak to you soon. Take care.